So we want to fade this alert in and out. How does this work? Let's start with fade enter. Remember, this is the CSS class which is only attached for one frame at the beginning. So here we should set our initial state we want to have. Now, since we want to fade it in, it should initially be transparent. Therefore here I will set the opacity to 0. And that is all. I'm not setting up any transition here or something like this, because keep in mind, this class will immediately be removed after one frame. So if I would set up a transition here, that wouldn't work. The place to set up the transition is here in the fade enter active class. Here I want to transition my opacity. You could also transition all if you wanted, but we only want to transition the opacity, so this is fine. And I want to transition it over 1 second, let's say. Pick any time frame you want to pick. Now this will animate it. Now I'm not setting opacity 1 here, and that is important. Opacity 1 is the default anyways, because keep in mind, opacity 0 here will be removed after 1 frame. So we don't need to override it. It by default is fully opaque. So we don't have to specify 1 here. And indeed, if we were to set the opacity to 1 here, the thing that would happen is that we would instantly override our initial state of 0, which yes, was removed, but it was there when we added this transition opacity thing here, because that gets added right before this gets removed. So we would remove this or override this immediately to 1, therefore we wouldn't see any fading because the opacity would always be 1. So it's important to not set it here, only set up the transition here. Well, and for leaving, here we could set opacity to 1, though that is the default already. So I'm going to comment it out, we don't need to set it. For fade leave active though, we again should set up the transition. And now here it is important that we also set up the opacity of 0. Remember, the default already is 1. So by setting up both the transition and the opacity of 0, we tell it, yeah, please animate whenever the opacity changes. Oh, and look, here it changes to 0. This is how we can control this. And now with that set up and the name being added here, hence making sure that fade, enter, and so on get attached by Vue.js, Vue.js is now able to sniff these CSS classes, finds out that the transition length is 1 second. We don't have animation, so it uses transition. With animation, of course, I'm referring to the CSS animation property, which would be an alternative to transitioning here. And it does the same for the leaving, hence it knows how long it should attach these CSS classes. Well, and with that, let's have a look at the running application. Make sure your development server is running. And yeah, we need to reload this, and now you should see it fades in and it fades out. And now we already set up our first animation for a single element, but how cool is that? Now in the next video, let's have a look at how this would work if we wouldn't use the transition property here, but instead CSS animations, which is the alternative to transitioning single properties.